Hi, Teresa.
Mhm. Sorry.
We have a couple people that have joined. There's Lauren. Hi, Lauren.
Nice to see you.
And there's Joanne. Hi, Joanne. Welcome to the First Tuesday's Business Coaching Zoom for nurses. And I'm Sharon. Joanne, I've seen your name, but I don't know if I've seen your face before, so it's nice to meet you. You're muted.
I think I was in one of your webinars a few months ago. And I've just been spending the last 2 days listening to your Liberated Nurse Summit stuff. And so I was available this evening. So I'm like, well, I'm going to jump on here.
Great. Really good. I'm glad. Well, I don't see anybody else in the waiting room right now, so I'll go ahead and start the call. On this call, we have it every month, the first Tuesday of the month, and our purpose is to answer questions about nurses in business, do some coaching if the questions are amenable to that. Otherwise, I'll just sometimes give my best tips and guidance as sort of a mentor would. And then in addition to questions that people have, you can also share opportunities that you've just found that you'd like some input on, how to respond to them, challenges that you're having. We'll always be happy to give support around things, even if we don't have, an answer to your dilemma. At least we can witness you and support you. And then we also do celebrations here. And it's really important to celebrate ourselves alone, and even better in a group of like-minded people who get it, how tough the road is for entrepreneurs sometimes with all its ups and downs. So we include celebrations. So who would like to start? Who has a question, a challenge, opportunity, or a celebration? Joanne, go ahead.
Okay. So to introduce myself to the rest of you, I'm Joanne Whiteside. I've been a nurse for 30 years. I became a board certified nurse coach in 2021 and started a private practice of a health and wellness coaching practice called Healthcare 101. I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been listening to Sharon's Liberated Nurse Summit, and realize you ask a lot of the people on that, like what led them to that. And I think I've had the entrepreneurial spirit in me ever since I started, but I was afraid and did not know how. So like years ago, I took the classes to become a legal nurse consultant, but I had no mentorship on the stepping stones to a private practice.
Yeah.
And so that sort of like fell along the way. And then I would read Donna Cardillo's stuff, and I would take note. Like I've had it in me for years, but so finally the universe came to alignment, and now I have a private practice. But I am new. I'm just in my first 2 years, and so Sharon, you talk about like those stages of development, and so I am like through toddlerhood, I guess. So here's one of my challenges that I have right now. So I'm not new and I'm not established. Have growing pains. I've had a business coach who's business, after having gone through like the nurse coach entrepreneurial stuff with my nurse coach training. But so I put out an ad on Facebook. This is my first time. I worked with a marketing person to put out an ad, and I got a lot of responses. He's not in healthcare, he's in marketing. And when he looks at my statistics, he's like, oh my God, he's like, this is amazing. For $150, you got 5,000 people. And out of that, 500 of them messaged you and, you're in 10 different conversations. He's like, this is amazing. But I don't know marketing statistics. So I was like, okay, whatever. So my question is, I got all these people saying, hey, I'm interested. And a number of people have engaged in conversation with me on, like the Facebook messaging and stuff of, I have hypertension, I have high cholesterol, I've had 3 stents placed, blah, blah. Because I coach around like plant-based nutrition, mindfulness, meditation, exercise, like the whole holistic pillars of healthcare. But none of them want to commit to even a free consultation. I had one person sign up for a free consultation and then not show up and then ghosted me. So I'd like to hear your wisdom on Facebook, like paid advertising. Is it cost effective? Because again, I look at it as maybe I'm just putting fertilizer on my garden. Like I'm just getting my name out for more people. It may not turn into sales right now, but maybe in 6 months it will. Help me with my mindset on, is this a good direction right now for me?
Yeah. Wow. That is great. Well, first of all, great that you got so much attention out of $150. That is pretty phenomenal.
But I don't
But it's no,
believe they are my direct ideal clients.
Yeah.
That's my concern, is I don't know that these are the ideal clients that I'm looking for.
Well, probably not, because you said 10 of them wanted to talk with you. Yeah. If they were your ideal clients, probably half of those would have signed up for something. If you had targeted your offer well to match the needs of your audience, you could expect at least 30% to 50% would say yes. So, your question was, is the Facebook advertising a good investment right now at this stage in your business? My view on that is that it's probably not.
Okay.
And that is because your messaging has to be very, very clear in order to pull in the people that will actually be positioned for you to buy something from you. Okay. And that's extremely rare if somebody new gets that right in the first year or even 2 sometimes. And marketing people can only work with what you give them. So we can hire the best marketer in the world, but if we don't know enough details about our audience and what they are actually looking for and are willing to spend money on, then whatever we give the marketing person, they can attract people, but it's likely to not be our people. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Because I'm still in the stage of the game with marketing and identifying, like, is this the right direction for me with my message, like honing in my message, still trying to figure out those skill sets. I'm a novice in that. And so it is the, like when I have clients who are trying to change their eating habits, they're like, are almonds good or bad? Like, what should I do? I'm sort of that, I don't know, is this a good investment of my time and energy or a not so good investment of my time and energy for marketing purposes? But it was sort of like, well, I'll dip my toe in it and see what happens.
Yeah. And that's great, Joanne, because business and marketing are experiments. It's just a long series of experiments, and paying attention, of course, to each experiment and what worked and what didn't work. And just like, nurses are enough, I'm sure you have enough science background that if you're going to experiment, let's say if you have 10 variables and you start out in your first experiment, you have 10 variables. Second experiment, you've changed 5 of them. You're not going to know which one made a difference. So it takes a little, of course, you can do it any way you want to, but the shortest way, the fastest way to making progress is to be disciplined about the experiments. So you just change one variable at a time. Might be the title of the ad. It might be the color of the ad. It might be, the language. But each variable, you just change one and you keep everything else the same. And then you see how that test compares to your past test.
Well,
right?
so here's actually what we did. So my marketing guy, he created 2 ads, a female ad and a male ad.
Okay.
The female ad showed a female face looking over a bottle of pills, and the male ad showed a sort of out of shape guy sitting in a doctor's office. And their messaging, a little bit different messaging, but the same idea of the one with the women's said, let's break free of pills and health freedom and, healthcare 101. And the men said, are you at risk for stroke and heart attack or have abnormal lab values? And something, I don't even remember. But so he was trying to see like what, if there was a different response. And I definitely got more response on the female ad than the male ad.
Yeah.
And he said for him, he was going to change the messaging that men might want to see the outcomes more instead of seeing that identification with the maybe unwell person on the what we're calling the male ad, show the outcomes of the fit, healthy, energetic person who doesn't have a heart attack and stroke versus maybe how the females identify, or how, some people were identifying with the sick model that was shown in the picture. So he did say that, and he stopped me because I wanted to change like a message on it. He said, no, we can't change anything yet. Only the male female picture is different and the wording is a little different, but he was kind of doing that to see how much resonated on the open market. I mean, we did, I don't know if you've ever done Facebook ads, like you can pick demographics of age and income and things like that.
Facebook is great about that. It'll tell you the demographics of your audience, actually, if you've been posting for a while.
I have to say though, that like when I picked out the demographics and then the people that started responding back to me, I thought, really? Like all these people are like, I'm suicidal, I'm a drug addict just out of prison. I'm like, that's not who I put into my demographics, but maybe they are high income wage earners and with advanced education.
I don't know. So
okay,
I'd love to comment on that. So Facebook is extremely complex nowadays. It used to be simple. You go on there and not know much and get some results. But very regularly, like every 1 or 2 quarters, they up the ante with the algorithms and the costs and the complexity and the things you can do and you can't do. And it pretty much, to stay on top of it, in my view, it almost takes a full-time job to do that as a specialty. It is good that you're the marketing person that helped you did 2 groups right off the bat. That's called a split test. So, or you might see it called an A/B split test.
Oh, okay. I saw something like that on Facebook, an A/B test, and I didn't know what that meant, so I just left it.
That's what it is. You can have 2 different ads.
Okay.
And it's fine to start out that way, where you have many different variables on both, because then if one is significantly more successful, you just toss the other one and you break down the one and start testing it, the one that was most successful.
But I'm also
all of that is very
my message.
Yeah, I was gonna say all of it's expensive. It's an expensive way to find out what your message is, because you can do that for free and I can tell you the basics of that. And then I'd like to pause and hear what the rest of the group wants to contribute. Just by finding the people you want to serve and talking to them. And when I say talk, I mean, it's a conversation and you're mostly listening. You're asking them questions about what's their problem, what do they want instead, what have they tried, what worked, what didn't work, how would they what form would they like to get their help in? And if they all have already tried something, ask how much did it cost? And how long was it? So you're basically just researching your audience in depth with empathy, of course, not like you're not grilling them. You're really caring about them, and you're gonna want to leave them feeling that they've really been seen and heard in a very compassionate way. And I usually don't have to coach nurses about that because that's the place we come from, but sometimes if we're nervous, we kind of tighten up on that. And we just think we can be tight sometimes around that and just think this is a checklist or a to-do list that we have to go all through these questions. And then it's not the same conversation. So anyway, you can do that for free. And if you talk to, well, the more people, the better, but at least 10 who have a similar challenge that they're dealing with, and they're looking for help, that can give you a very good start on what your messaging is.
Thank you.
You bet. I would love to hear so let me introduce the group. Jan Walter and Teresa Walding are coaches in the Liberated Nurse Business Incubator. They're nurse entrepreneurs, and they've taken my training, and now they're coaching others. Lauren Tanner is in the incubator right now, the program, and learning. So Lauren, if you want to comment, feel free, because we learn more when we teach or when we share our ideas. And so it's optional, but Lauren, you are invited to also share. Okay. So who wants to go first? Give Joanne your tips.
I will.
Okay, good.
So what Sharon says is like that. There was that tipping point for me. Like I've been talking, I've been listening, but listening with different ears to hear the deeper message of what your people want is paramount. And so that was, it's funny because we think we're good listeners until we really learn how to listen. And so listening to that, what they really want. And then I started writing down the words they said as soon as I left the conversation, because I knew I would forget. So, if I was on the phone, I'd be writing down specific words because the same words kept coming up over and over. And that's what you're looking for, is when you find your group of people, they use very similar words of what they want. So that was pivotal for me to hear that. And the other thing I think that was really helpful, because when you start talking to a lot of people and then it comes time to make the sale or figure out what they want, is what headspace are you in when you're making that offer? Dropping out of your critical thinking, or I'm going to mess this up, and pretend like you're a nurse who's finally found her wings and you're going into a patient's room and it's just easy. It's like, exactly what you're going to do, you know what you're going to ask, and you know what you're listening for. That helps more than everything else I've learned in a very long time. So we become an entrepreneur and then we think we don't know what we're doing, but we do. We understand how to make human connection, how to listen beyond the words, and we don't have an ulterior motive towards selling. We're inviting someone to actually improve their health, their well-being, sharing our knowledge, and it's a gift. So when you think of it like that, you can be a little more excited about what you're offering someone. And that helped take me out of my head in the middle of those conversations. Like, oh, what do I do next? Oh, am I supposed to say this here? It's a conversation where you're just loving all over someone and sharing what you know and inviting them to take care of themselves. So those were the things that were huge shifts that made a really big difference.
Thank you, Teresa. I'd like to comment on a couple things you said before we go on to somebody else's thoughts. I'm so glad you you spoke about listening to the exact words the person is saying. That is such a key. I often find myself listening just to the sort of the general thing they're saying. Oh, now they're complaining about XY. Rather, so I'm putting my words over the top of their words, but that won't work in this kind of a case. We need to really take in their words. And then it's also helpful to use a coaching approach in our questions. And I'm glad you're trained in coaching because there's lots of different ways we can ask powerful questions. And the purpose of that is to help the person themselves peel back the layers from their own consciousness in terms of what do they really want, how bad do they want it, and are they ready to make a change? So that part is just part of the coaching, and it's really important in this process of talking and listening. And then last thing I wanted to say at this juncture is the first 10 people you talk with, if they are totally a fit for what you do, sure, you can offer it, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is just to hear them. So you might have the whole conversation and at the end, just end it with, well, I'm putting together a program for people with this problem. When I'm ready to offer it, would you like to know? And if they say yes, you get their contact info, and then that's it, you're done. So it's because that way you can go ahead and keep listening to the other people and then put together your messaging, your marketing message, and then go back to them and say, okay, I have a program now, and this is what it does, and this is what it will accomplish, and so on. And it's then a congruent match with what they're looking for. And there's no marketer that can get that for you. That's something we have to do ourselves with our audience.
Just wanted to add one little teeny tiny piece to that. If you know you're going to be talking to them about your coaching, set the tone for that phone call at the very beginning. Like, because some people will get on the phone call and they don't know why they're there. And so they think they're there to tell their story. And so you've listened to the story, which is fine, but that's saved for a coaching session. The purpose of the phone call is to either set the appointment for a longer phone call, or if you've already done that, well, I'm here to see if we're a good fit for this program that I'm offering. Would you be interested in hearing about it? And then that way you take charge of the conversation. And because you could spend a lot of time on the phone not talking about anything that moves your business forward. It's great for the people. They feel loved and heard, but it's not going to make you any money.
Joanne, before we hear more comments, do you have any questions or comments about what has already been shared?
I mean, it's not new information to me. It reiterates, other stuff that I've heard. The way I had gotten the clients that I've had so far was through in live meeting in person with a very high sign-on rate with multiple re-signs. And so I know that if people can, meet me in person and we start talking, the words they kept using was, I offer something different. They were looking for something different. And that both when I was doing pro bono clients in my training, that seemed to be the word that resonated, was this is something different.
Okay.
And so I've tried that early on, because I don't want to go head to head with medicine. Like I tell people that this is not like alternative medicine. This is not anti-medicine. This is, alongside whatever they're doing with their, healthcare. But so this is not new information. It's just reminding me of the listening, like listening with a stronger ear. I'm just venturing, kind of broadening my fishing net. I don't use term fishing, like broadening my reach. And so I'm getting people that have no context of me other than a stranger on the internet. And so I think that's where I'm feeling sort of that uncomfortableness. The conversations I'm engaging with the people, I am trying to be like just the nurse coach that I am, just saying like, hey, it's Joanne here. And, asking the questions, what are your biggest concerns? And I asked, would you be interested in me sending you resources? So I sent out like free resources of just links to websites that I use when I refer people to stuff, to just say, hey, I am legit. I'm not some AI bot on the other end of the line. But it does help remind me to just create some of that space for me to hear people. Although I'm not doing as much in-person meeting right now. It is more online now. And so I'm trying to, do it through direct, instant messaging, through the apps or through the, platforms that I'm on. And so trying to be that approachable, easy to listen to, safe kind of person to help them feel safe. I mean, one lady screenshotted her My Chart problem list and sent me her My Chart problem list. And so I thought, well, she must trust me to be sending me her My Chart pages. But to build that trust, and then early on in my Facebook ad, I was like sort of presenting like, hey, if you want to know more, please book a free consultation. We'll talk, because my consultation thing says, hey, let's talk. Let's see if you're ready for this or for a good fit or whatever. And I found that sort of that kind of shut people down. Like people were not ready to do a consultation. So I slowed down, didn't put that out there, and just engaged in conversation that might go on over a couple of days. And then I asked people if they want, and I put my links, hey, if you want to, some of the conversations I've had to say, okay, at this point, if you want to know more and do more, we should get on a consultation call. And here's the link to my calendar. And then I try to follow up with them, but it's more of venturing into more strangers than friends of friends or colleagues of colleagues that I've had as my clients. Mm-hmm. And so it's like new waters for me. And so I do have to go back and like ask them more coaching questions to see what they're writing as to what they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. I really encourage you to listen for those outcomes that they're wanting, the changes they're wanting in their life, and then the benefit of the changes. So if they want to, get their blood sugars back to normal limits, well, why? How will that help them? What is it that they want from that? And so on. The outcome and the benefits are really important too. And then use that when you right off the gate, say, I'm a nurse coach who helps. I'm going to stick with that. I'll stick with that example of diabetics. I'm a nurse coach who helps people with diabetics who have high blood sugars, get them down to normal levels so they can play with their grandkids, or whatever the outcome is that you found they want. Just put that together in a nice sentence or two, short and sweet. And then they know this isn't just a nice nurse who does something and I want to talk to her. It sounds like more business-like. Okay, this is who I am. This is the service I provide. And are you interested in hearing about it? Kind of put, for the marketing, for the sales conversation and the marketing part. The first conversation we were talking about was to learn about your audience. Now I'm talking about a different conversation, which is the actual marketing message. And I think what I recommend is after you've talked to the people you know and the people they know, the next thing to do is to have some free resources, which sounds like you have. It would serve you though to make your own little PDF with your own bullet points and your brand and your name and contact. So it's keeping you in front of them as an authority rather than sending them to a different authority. So I might suggest that as a next step. And then from there, get in front of audiences that you can talk to. And if you want to do it on Zoom, that's totally fine, of course. Either live or Zoom will work the same. And then, you know, we could talk about, well, how do you get in front of an audience? What are different ways?
Yeah, I mean, I just told my marketing guy that that is what I want to do. I mean, because I also teach in the School of Nursing, so I'm I'm not afraid to talk.
Yeah, good.
and I want to be that. And I told him that's where I want to be. I want to be seen as a thought leader and an expert on this stuff. It's
Yeah.
the, you know, trying to find those places. Because in my like real life, I also have 3 young children. And so I'm like, you know, doing all the plates in the air kind of thing. And so I don't have a tremendous amount of time. And so that is on my, you know, goal list of getting in front of more larger audiences. And I'm just trying to,
it's all a step at a time.
It's all a step at a time. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. Along with that, you might try looking for hubs, HUBS, of people. And let me tell you what I mean. You've probably seen the old, like the covered wagons or something of old, where there was many spokes on a wheel, and in the center there's a hub that all the spokes connect to. Well, if you think about groups of people, the people are like the spokes, and there's usually a key person at the center of it all that sort of everything else is connected to. And that would be the hub. That person would be the hub of the group. And if you can find a hub that you can talk to and get to know, and maybe offer to contribute something to them to make their life easier and better and so on, get to know them, and then see if they would like to refer to you. Either refer people to you or give you if they have a platform or a stage of some kind, real or virtual, see if you would be a fit for their audience, to speak to their audience. And that can work very, very well. Or they might do an email their audience and tell them about
nurturing relationships of people.
Yeah. Specifically through the hub of the group, because with that one, developing that one relationship, you have a pathway to reach many people. And so I would do all those things before I would invest in paid marketing. Yeah.
I was just wondering, Joanne, if you said you taught in the School of Nursing. Is that what I understood?
I currently teach part-time in a school.
You currently teach part-time.
Yeah, I teach simulation at Loyola University.
Okay. I was just what Sharon was talking about, hubs and things like that, is possibly some of the people that you are working with, or even some of your students who have some other connections. I don't know what size community you're in or those kinds of things, but sometimes nurturing those kinds of relationships can get you invited to do something that maybe you have more expertise in a certain area than another teacher in the group, and you could offer to do something with maybe one session with their classes or something like that. That is something that you're doing them a favor but you're also getting exposure to other people. And
Yeah.
I don't know your community or anything, but
I got a sit down meeting with the dean of our School of Nursing, because like I reached out to her because, I'm one of their faculty, but the School of Nursing had put out a huge, big, magazine of their nurse researchers, of all this money that the researchers are bringing in for their School of Nursing, like really prominent research. And as I read it, it was all in line with what I do as a nurse coach. They were looking at maternal health outcomes. I teach OB. My background is in OB. Um, with maternal mortality, stress, and how epigenetics of stress. And I mean, I go through that with meditation with people. And so I thought, well, this is an alignment. So I asked for a meeting with the dean, and she granted me a meeting, and I presented to her what I do as a nurse coach, my holistic nursing coach practice, and how it could align with the School of Nursing. I'm also an alumni of their School of Nursing. So I thought, this is great. They also have a School of Public Health, and I thought, in a School of Medicine and stuff, like this could be a collaboration, because patients should have this, because I wanted to have it as a service line in their hospital, possibly, or somehow. And she was very kind, but she's like, okay, if we did that, you wouldn't be able to stay on faculty. It would be a conflict of interest. And the university would have to have ownership of it. And I'm not prepared to give up my, my business and stuff. And so I was disappointed that, like, they're touting all this research that they're doing and showing their research, but it was more like, look how much money we can bring in research dollars. But what are you doing with the people who have these problems? Like, you're just sending them to get on blood pressure medications. Like, what are you? And so I was trying to offer this as a collaboration to grow Healthcare 101 partnership with Loyola University. They serve they serve a very diverse demographic of people. And I thought this could be great. And she was like, no big, no. And so I was like, okay. And I did speak in one of their graduate school panels about burnout. So I was invited. So I've kept my name and face in with the university with different people. So I was on a burnout panel, again, to, get my name out there, get my name, image, likeness out there, I guess. It didn't, maybe I'm expecting too much too soon. Like, it didn't really flow into something bigger that I was expecting.
It sounds like she doesn't have an entrepreneurial mindset at all.
Right.
It's not the
More of a
lens that she's
research.
looking through.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So there might be somebody else, like even in the finance department or something, or the business department.
I've worked with their School of Business. I worked with their students and stuff. So I am sort of like exploring those relationships, that universe of Loyola University with their business school, their nursing school, their medical campus, their public health school. Like, I'm trying to keep myself out there as a name and a face, because they know me as a faculty member and, an alumni and stuff. So I use that as my credibility of who I am and what I do. But as far as I know, I'm the only nurse coach in their School of Nursing. I don't think they really know what that is, even though this is a School of Nursing that has a bachelor's, master's, and PhD program. And their School of Business has an entrepreneurial program. I told them, I'm like, you know what, we should all be getting together. This should be a thing. And but yes, I'm working on nourishing those relationships. It's just that I'm not seeing sales. And I thought, like, oh, the first 18 months of business is planting my garden, and then I'd start harvesting. And I have to celebrate. I mean, I have paid clients and stuff. I've made $20,000, so far. But for the amount of work and effort I feel like I should be
Yeah.
doing more. It's like I haven't gotten the, oh yeah, everybody, people are knocking on my door, to do.
You haven't got it figured out to where
Right.
it's predictable revenue
Right.
that
Right.
I do these
Right.
things, I'll probably get 3 clients and then,
Right. It's more of like throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks kind
Yeah,
of thing.
I understand. And
But
of
I
course,
feel like I can't, like I have to do this and I have to do this and I, like nurse the relationships and do this and do this and,
well, there is a path forward. But there's not a cookie cutter path that we can give you. I think we've done a great job of giving you the major blocks of the path. But as far as actually applying all that in your situation with your strengths and limitations that you have in your life and your own personal, your personal energy of what lights you up and what you would dread. And though it's all that mixture together that really dictates what our business, how it's created. And it's very individual. So we would welcome you to, stay in touch with us and learn more about what we do, because we have our main program is the Liberated Nurse Business Incubator, which helps nurses start from stage 0, and go through stage 1. Now, you're not in stage 0 because that's all about preparing yourself to be an entrepreneur. So you've got that. But there's probably some things in stage 1 that you still could pick up. Stage 1 is pretty much over when you're consistently making $3,000 a month net revenue above your expenses. By that, just to get to that point, you've had to really get clear on your audience and your offer that you offer them, and how to speak about it, and where to speak about it. It requires you to get out of your circle of people and they know, and take it farther. So that's what we do. That's what the incubator program is. And we're going to be offering it again coming up soon through our webinar that you may have seen me suggest, a webinar that's get your first or next 10 clients. And that will be next a week from this Wednesday, week from tomorrow. And so that's our main program. And then I also do private business coaching and mentoring. Usually that's most appropriate for people that have completed stage 1. They're solidly in stage 2, and now they want to grow their business. They've proven their idea, they've proven their messaging and their pricing and all that stuff in stage 1, and now they're ready to grow. So those are the 2 main things we offer here, as well as we like to give free things that also help nurses start to learn the language, get the mindset, and see themselves as a business owner. But you've got a lot of that in place already.
Yeah, and I think that's why I, showed up today, or listening to your summit, is to gather more wisdom, to gather more nuggets that might help me connect some more, or give me some more motivation, or some mindset shifts and things like that. I always feel like I can gather something
to
help me.
For sure. Well, let's see if there's
share just as a student in the incubator too. Joanne, some of the things that you talked about, I think, are very, very applicable to the things that I'm learning in the incubator right now. I'm currently kind of on the opposite of you. I don't necessarily have my entrepreneurial spirit, but in the holistic health world, there's so many different things that we can do, and really getting clear on your audience, your message that you want to send out. That's creating your marketing in itself. There's a lot of different exercises that Sharon does provide through her courses. And then what's really amazing too is and I think that you would be able to breeze through some of these with where you're at, but they can really help you to kind of get clear on exactly what you want to say in your marketing message. And then coming to these calls, as well as the group coaching calls that we do separate from the free calls that Sharon does, we can really help to flesh out a lot of those things. And that's where I I'm kind of out right now. The empathetic inquiry conversations, yes, I think those are always ongoing because the coaching relationship is so specific. So we do want to be actively listening to the people that we're trying to serve in order to become specific on their problems. But like I said, I think working with Sharon has been really great as far as me learning about business for the first time, because she has that nursing background. She's versed in holistic health as well. And so we're able to kind of take those same principles that we already know about ethically and apply them to business. And it can really help us to navigate the business world a lot better is what that feels more, I guess, in line with our practice as nurses. So those are just my sharing points. As far as the course goes, like I said, I think you would probably really enjoy it and just gain a lot from it. Because especially I think when marketing to strangers and not reaching out to your immediate network, it can be a little bit more challenging to figure out the appropriate language to use and how to make it as concise as possible where people are going to want to come back and talk with you. So, and then one other thing that I was going to share as far as your own marketing goes. So you talked about possibly doing lives. I think that that would be great because it creates more face-to-face connection, more relationship in general. And instead of posting about ads, post about when you're going to be live. I'm going to be live on Friday at 3 p.m. That way people can plan in advance and then try to be online to attend your live sessions. And that way you can connect with more people face-to-face.
So I have never done a live session. You know, I am 51, so technology is not my favorite thing. I'm aware of lives, but so what would be like the time frame? Like how much time do people give to do a live?
I think a lot of times people will jump on for like an hour or maybe an hour and a half.
And they just talk about something?
If they're doing like a planned live, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And you can just leave it open to questions. Like I use Instagram frequently, but I would say that Facebook's probably the same. People can message in the chat what questions they have for you about your program. You know, you can pin on there, hey, this is what I'm talking about, and leave a little caption about who you are and what you're trying to promote. And then people can ask questions and you can see them on the thread and you can kind of answer them one by one.
Okay.
So
I have to think about doing that maybe. Because that's free, right? I mean, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and
yeah, it's free. It's free to do that. And I mean, I'm not the best with talking with people by any means. If you have a teaching background, I think that if you can pick up the technology piece, then it's going to be easy for you. And, you know, the first couple of times it might be like technology glitch and you just kind of say that and then you jump off, you know. No, it's Instagram and it's Facebook, so no one's going to be like holding you to anything super serious.
I'll have to look into that as a thing. Yeah.
Lauren, that's a great idea, especially since she has all this new audience in Facebook, all these new people. She could blast out to them. You're going to be on live at a certain time, and this is their chance to talk to you. And make sure though that, well, there's a lot to doing a successful sales presentation, but if you know, but you can also just start where you are and just experiment. So, you know, and thank you, Lauren, for sharing with her about what you're getting from the program. That's great.
Absolutely.
Lauren, do you want to have any time here tonight with any challenge or opportunity or celebration that you have?
I did have one thing that I wanted to bring today. So I've been working on my herbal workshops. And I want to make sure that I have a solid disclaimer with any kind of workshop that I do, just because I'm hoping that my workshops can lead to clients. And so in that regard, like I want to have my disclaimer no matter what I'm teaching about, just to make sure people kind of have an idea of what they're getting into if they did want to work with me one-on-one. So I did have a write-up of my client. If I could share my screen, I can show it to you guys. And then I just feel like it's a little bit too long, but then I also don't want to leave anything out. And I kind of wanted to make it personal, but professional at the same time.
Hold on a second. There we go. Oops. And I'm just now seeing that there's 42 other people in the waiting room, and I didn't get any message about
Oh.
that.
Wow.
Wow.
I knew that a lot of people signed up for today, but how weird that I didn't get a message that.
Yeah, you
that
should have
we're-
got a little notice at the top.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
We're
ahead
gonna
and
use
share your
Lauren's
screen.
technology.
Yeah, there's always more to learn
Technology.
about
There's the
technology.
technology glitch.
Wow. Well, the summit went well.
Yeah. Sometimes the platforms make changes and they don't tell us. We just have to discover it. Okay.
Let me try to make this bigger. Let's see if I can just can you guys see it okay?
Yeah.
It's a little long, so maybe I can at least bold it.
You could is it easy to get rid of your all that nav bar stuff at the top? Oh, okay. That'll work too.
I'm just trying to see if I could zoom it in.
the Zoom for Word is on the bottom right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Lauren.
Good.
Just a typo. You in the aim is to always provide you. You might get rid of that D at the end of provided right there. That seems clear to me.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very clear up front. I mean, I have a similar disclaimer in my contract, but I have like a longer contract, so I don't know. It seems like that's what you need to put out there for your consumer. I know that it would be nice if it could be like 3 sentences, but it seems like you really have, like, what you've done is okay unless others have other experience with disclaimer notifications.
Lauren,
Yeah,
does it bother
ahead.
you that it's this length? Is it what was your main request for input on this?
I don't think the length is horrible. I just want to make sure it, I mean, I guess if it's a disclaimer, like, it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to make sure like it flowed well and that I wasn't being too repetitive. And I guess just as well to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Those are my main concerns.
I have a suggestion, and that is that you could also say you're an health and wellness coach, because you've got nurse and herbalist there.
Yeah.
But the coaching provides another aspect. What you have is not bad. It's just an optional idea to put in there.
Yes.
Mhm. And then, yeah, you might want to comma after coach. Yeah.
One thing I've seen pretty regularly is, and you do have it, as an individual, you're responsible for your own health and wellness. And then some people I see them say, and the choices you make. Like,
Okay.
like they have choices to make for themselves, even though I think it's true that they're responsible for it. But I particularly liked that phrase because I think it's like you're responsible for your own choices based on this information.
I like that too, Teresa. It's empowering, actually. It's
I
giving them the
did
power.
intentionally choose to put that at the almost end, because it's not my problem if you don't follow up with your own qualified healthcare professional. You can do what you want.
No, but you do have choices and you get to make them.
Right.
So, and I think it's empowering for both you and for the client. Like, oh, while you've said check with your doctor, you do have choices that you can make.
Okay. Awesome.
And with what you do, someone else may not need to say anything about the plants and things like that, but with your situation, that's very important. I guess you wouldn't want to remove something like that. That's very crucial in your situation.
Yeah, I had looked around at other disclaimers that herbalists were used, the school that I go to, even what they provide, and some of them were a lot more detailed. But I just wanted a general disclaimer that I was comfortable with, and that I could also just like, give as a speech if I needed to without it being pages.
Yeah, I think this falls very much in line with the disclaimers that I have in my health and wellness coaching contract for people. Mine is much longer, so yours, you must not have had a lawyer go through this and give you 10 pages of disclaimer to put in your contract.
I have more in my consents, but I wanted to be able to include something in like all the presentations that I do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, when they become a paid client, you can go into more depth in your what your liability is and what their responsibility is. But I think for your presentations and things, that's really, really well done. Good job.
Thank you.
Sharon, I'd like to put out there the information on the chat about how to get your first 10 clients.
Okay.
So anybody
Webinar? Yeah.
put that information about that webinar out there for everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, if you haven't signed up yet, I invite you to. It's a free 90-minute webinar. And well, our time is about up. Let's go around. I like to end these by just going around and everyone telling one takeaway that you got from tonight. And if you have it, also add your next step, one of your next steps. Who wants to go first?
I can go. I really liked Teresa's reminder about the discovery calls, of really trying to make sure that you're making it about the message that you're trying to convey while also learning about them, but letting them know from the get-go that you're trying to figure out if you guys are going to be a good fit together, so that it's not necessarily, they know going in, it's not a coaching call right off. I thought that was a really helpful reminder. My next steps, I have been doing a lot of different things with my audience and my messages that I'm trying to get out. So I'm just like making that clear and concise and brainstorming on that. So those are my next steps as far as Liberated Nurse. And then I'm also still working on my herbal workshops. So I'm doing that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
I always like be reminded of things. And I think even Joanne said, some of the things you may have heard, but the more times you hear them, and just the thing that I picked up again reminded was when you're doing your research, you're doing experiments, and experiments can be fun if we think about it. I would, if my 10-year-old grandson, he would consider experiments fun. So I think I'm going to kind of take a page from his book and consider that fun rather than something that is very pressured. And for me right now, it's my next step is getting back from the month of constant away from a business, and get back into tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day and begin again. So keep working.
Great. Yeah, you've had a nice month off with your family.
Yes.
Great.
I'll say my takeaway is, again, Teresa giving me kind of reminders of how to listen well for what, what I'm listening for. And Sharon, you gave me some good things about Facebook ad and variables and ABs, things like that, and considering where I put my money and my time. And I think my next step is to consider doing a live event.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to do webinars and things like that, but maybe a live event. Because I've often said to like the people I'm working with, like, if I can get in front of people and talk, that usually makes people go like, hey, I that's how I got a client, was they said, I saw you talk somewhere and
Yeah.
they hired me. So that should be my next thing after I come back from Europe, because I'm going to Europe next week.
Oh, good for you. That's
Exciting.
great.
For me, as always, I love the reminders. I think I become a better listener every time I hear it. One of my friends said, I can be a pretty good teacher and I can try harder and I might get 20% better. But if you become a better listener, you might get 80% more out of it. So that I take that into heart when I listen to what everyone's saying, because I know that, but I just heard that in a very different way. So I love that. So I heard some things tonight that, again, I don't care how many times I'm reminded, I have more to learn. So I'm open to that.
Wonderful. What's your next step, Teresa?
I have a speech that I'm writing to speak on a stage at the end of July. So it's a 1-minute talk. And so I have to create it and do it and practice it and deliver it by July 28th. So that will be
That's
interesting.
exciting.
It
Will
is
it
exciting.
will it be recorded to where we could see it sometime? No?
It won't, but maybe I can record it for you so you can critique me.
Oh, one of your practice ones. Yeah.
Practice one.
Bring it to the
And
marketing lab.
I am currently doing a daily Facebook Live in a private Facebook group, which is very nice if anyone wants to do those, because then you can practice with the group and they can help you, but it's not out there for everyone. Like, you know, he calls it get the marbles out of your mouth. Just start speaking to the camera. And so I've done 3 of those and I went, huh, this is getting easier already. So Joanne, as you begin to practice on your own. If you want to, go into, a little group of friends who want to do it, it's actually a lot more fun than I thought it would be. So some of the things I'm learning and experimenting, not just with ads, but with my personal ability to communicate.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for being here. I always enjoy these calls, and Joanne, really great to meet you this way, get to know more about you. And I'll say goodnight for now and see you all in the future, I hope.
Thank
Have a
you.
great holiday this week. Bye-bye.
Take care.